Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. And I've been working under the scope of active learning and project-based learning. And myself and Rui, my colleague that is here today, we've been working for almost, 15 years, delivering workshops a little bit in different countries, a little bit using this kind of approach and support and help teachers to implement project-based learning or active learning as well. So today here we are going to share with you some of our conceptual background under this topic. And at the same time, we are working as well in an hands-on approach in which the idea is all the participants here providing you an opportunity to feel and experience project-based learning environment. So that's why myself and Rui, we are working together in this field under this context of a PBL framework for digital collaborative teaching learning. This is a project, Erasmus Plus project, that we have been working together for almost for more than 2 years. We are in the final stage of the project. So in this sense, we are going to also to share our experiences in a way that we design this training under the context of this project. Rui, would you like to say some words for to start?
Yeah, thank you, Diana. So we, as Diana told, we have been working on PBL since 2005, something like that, and delivering workshops maybe since 2010. So we are really happy to have this opportunity also here. I came from the University of Minho. I've been working in the engineering field, and mostly as regarding to teaching innovation, mostly working with project-based learning. So I'm very happy, and we are going now for the session. Thank you all for being here.
So, and to start, we are already starting with like a warm-up, also to understand who is from that side on the audience, and we would like to know. Can you move forward, please? Not sure. So we have 2 questions. The first one is, what is the country of your institution? We would like to know in the first place, because as Katrina said in the very beginning, we have here people from different countries and we are curious about it. And I'm going to put in, probably, I think it's easier to put in the chat the link to answer this question. I think it's easier. Okay, you can in the chat. Okay, we're starting already with answers. Okay, Portugal, Lithuania, other. Okay, if you would like to, those that are answering other country, maybe you can put, okay, Ukraine, well done, thank you. Slovenia, Ukraine, Poland, great. Okay. Good.
So we have 19 responses. I think that's okay now.
Yeah. Thank you, Rui. So we have, I think one of the most interesting things in this kind of training opportunities that we have is also to have opportunity as well to discuss and share experiences in our different countries and institutions. And we will see that we will have many things in common, and also things that we differentiate from each other. So I think this is also the spirit of this workshop. You will have the opportunity to share your own experiences. And about that, the second question that we have for you. Can you move forward, please?
Yeah.
It's about PBL. So regarding the topic of this workshop, where you are standing, okay, where do you stand regarding this topic? So you are somehow unenthusiastic, and you are somehow starting to explore this approach, this pedagogical approach, or are you an explorer that you already have some experiences on project-based learning in your own context, or if you are an expert, if somehow you implement for a long time PBL and do, for instance, research under this topic as well. So we have a lot of explorers, really nice, some enthusiastics, which is great. Okay, we'll see what we have more. Enthusiastics are growing. Okay, really nice to have these both profiles in the session, because as I said before, sharing experience is in fact one of the main purposes as well of this workshop, like a side effect of we have been preparing for all of you here. So what we have planned for you today, we have here the outline of the session. Can you, because you are on the control of the session. So as we said before, this is we designed this workshop under the scope of this project, the PBL 40T project. We delivering 2 editions of training, and what we are doing today is a part of that training, because we are talking about the 20 hours training. So we are somehow here to explore some ideas that we have been designing under this project. So we invite you to know more about our project. You can go to our link, and also you can see the kind of activities that we have been developing. So our session for today, we would like to share what we are.
So for today, we have this part, we call it launching the session. So trying to understand where are you from, and how do you stand regarding PBL. I'm sorry for the others. The biggest group was from the other countries. So if you could write on the chat, so
they
that
are writing,
we have an idea.
Bulgaria, Slovenia, yeah. Ukraine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm not seeing the chat. Thank you. And we have a PBL workshop simulation planned for the remaining of the session. Well, this time frame is like well, it's a plan, and we have some difficulties on keeping exactly on the plan, but it will depend also on the interaction with all of you. So we will start by introducing a few ideas regarding I would say conceptual parts of PBL. And of course, as PBL is part of active learning, we'll talk about active learning a little bit, and then we'll make a short introduction to the simulation that we are planning. During the simulation, we will have 3 main milestones, like a project. Okay, we'll have a milestone for the theme, another one for the proposals, and finally for sharing what you have developed. We know that this is somehow too ambitious, because we will ask you to develop a proposal for a PBL activity for your students in small teams, but don't be overwhelmed with that, because we will only ask for a few parts of the PBL proposal, so it will be doable in this time. And finally, we'll have a few examples and some tips to share with you. So this is our plan for today. I hope that you agree and are enthusiastic with that so that we can move on. Okay, so I'm moving on.
Just a brief note, do not hesitate to put questions in the chat, okay, your comments, feel free. So the spirit of the workshop, it will be very interactive, as we mentioned before. But in fact, the idea is each of you had the opportunity to share your experiences as well. And we are here to move to this period. Okay, so, but first, we are going to start with the baseline, our conceptual baseline about PBL. And when we talk about PBL, we necessarily need to talk about active learning. And myself and Rui is like our main rules to start on PBL is talking about active learning principles. The active learning principles we have, it's been in the last years, we have been talking about in higher education contexts about active learning and how to motivate students in the classroom, how to engage them in the proposals that we provide in the classroom, and looking what the literature said about it, we can identify a set of principles. That means active learning is about creating meaningful learning experiences. And it's not just because, well, it's a new wave of doing teaching or learning. No, it's much more than that. It's to providing environments in which students be able to learn better. That's the main purpose of active learning. So the first principle that we have here is about how to turn learning more meaningful for the students. And probably many of you already listen from your students, well, why I will need this for when I go to my professional practice, why I need to learn math, why I need to learn this concept. Sometimes it's so abstract for them. It's really hard to make this connection about what they need in terms of what they need to learn to be better professionals in the future. So bringing in the classroom this meaningful context will be very important for what we do in active learning. Talking about context, Rui?
So additionally, we have to create the right environment to implement active learning in our classrooms. Not only in our classrooms, but in our pedagogical approach. And we can do it in a lot of different ways, and we'll talk about that in the next slide. And additionally, beyond creating the right environment, we also have to give context to the learning process, because competencies are about mobilizing knowledge and attitudes and principles in a context of learning. So we need the context so that they can learn, students can learn, and also they can mobilize their own competencies in that process.
So with the meaningful experiences, with the right context, we get to this level of engagement that we expect from students, in which we see in their attitude about making questions, trying to know more about it, this kind of energy and motivation. This is the right symptom that we are students engaged in the process. So this is really an important principle when we design active learning approaches.
And finally, we need students to be able to reflect upon what they are learning. And we can identify that they are achieving this reflection process when they are able to defend their own options, because learning is also about, or at least in active learning, is about having some degrees of freedom, of autonomy, and they have to take some decisions and also take some options and defend those. Okay? And when they are able to do this, or additionally, when they are also able to reflect upon the process of learning, if it was meaningful for them, or if they would like to propose some changes, okay, we are really getting in the part of critical reflection and like closing a loop of learning in this process for the students. But this can be done in a lot of different ways, and we like to show this in a continuum, in active learning continuum, and this continuum can be one way to see this continuum is related to the autonomy of the student, and we have active learning we have some approaches of active learning when we give a lower degree of autonomy to the student, like in big classrooms, when we are thinking about think, pair, share, and quiz activities, or we can give a lot of autonomy to the students when we are talking about problem and project-based learning approaches, and some derivative like challenge-based learning, service-based learning, research-based learning, that are other ways of implementing, not other, but specific ways of implementing problem and project-based learning meaning. So we can see that we can do active learning approaches, we can develop active learning approaches in a lot of different ways, from big classrooms with quiz, think, pair, share as an examples, to more complex ways of implementing that need more preparation, like problem and project-based learning. We have a lot of different ways also to do that, like team-based learning, brainstorm, buzz groups, a lot of different things.
We already have a question in the chat from Asta. Thank you so much for your question. It's really interesting. Astas are asking about what are the difference between problem and project-based learning, as well as from challenge-based learning. We have been discussing this a lot. It's not a surprising question, but it's always a very interesting question to discuss. Maybe we can show already one of the slides that we have in the end of the PowerPoint.
Okay.
And we can already discuss a little bit about this topic, which I think is interesting. So first of all, there is no one single answer, Asta. So we are talking about here different ways of implementing, okay? And we would like to, we used to share this approach from, it's not recent, from Professor Annette Holmes and Professor Eric de Graaf, one of the main experts in the problem and project-based learning. And we can see here that there are some slight differences, but and in Aalborg University, I don't know if you are familiar with the Aalborg University, but they are all, the pedagogical model of Aalborg University are all from PBL, and they have these both approaches, problem and project-based learning. As we can see here in this diagram, in problem-based learning, we have the focus of the approach in much more on problem analysis. So it's a much more a step-by-step approach in which students and teachers follow like a protocol for implementing the problem. And the focus is much more regarding on the analysis. So the problem is much more closed rather than project. In the project, what we have, and you are probably what I'm saying, it will be more clear when we talk about PBL in the first place. We focus much more time on problem solving, because we have open problems when we are talking about project-based learning. And as Tatiana is saying here, project-based learning is interdisciplinary. So it's that's one of the characteristics that put the problems much more open, is this level of interdisciplinarity. Would you like to add something for now? Because we could come back here later on.
So this is a really interesting way to make a distinction between problem and project-based learning. Like when we have project, we try to solve the problems and implement a solution. But I think the other question, or part of the question, was related with the difference for challenge-based learning also.
Yes.
And
yes.
Well, this is another big question, because I think there is not a definitive answer to that. But our perspective on that is that the difference is on the type of problem that we are implementing, and some slight things that people say that they do when they do challenge-based learning, as an example. So when we have a problem that is oriented to the societal big problems of nowadays, usually we can say that you are doing challenge-based learning, because that's one of the things that challenge-based learning community wants, okay? It's to approach big societal problems. Additionally, they expect, well, in challenge-based learning, we also expect that will be an interaction with the community, okay, going outside of the university. But we have been doing that in project-based learning also, so we also do things with external agents, and we think that some of our problems are also related to the societal problems. So we call it project-based learning, but okay, we could call it challenge-based learning. So it's not like a difference, like problem and project-based learning are the big umbrella, okay? And when we are doing specific things, we can sometimes call it slightly different, okay? And I think that's the main difference. And if we talk about service-based learning, we are talking about trying to help delivering some kind of service, social service, okay, to someone or to a small group, or working with NGOs, okay. That's the main idea of service-based learning, I would say. Okay, I hope that
I'm going to put in the chat later on an article, a conceptual article that talk about this difference between PBL and challenge-based learning.
Okay, going on to project-based learning now. Okay, project-based learning is about starting with a problem. Okay? So it is, by definition, also a problem-based learning approach. So in fact, in Aalborg universities that Diana was referring a few minutes ago, they call it problem and project-based learning, or they call it problem-based learning with a project-organized learning. So when we have a problem that is an open-ended problem, okay, and we expect students to solve that problem and have a concrete result, then we are going on to the project part, okay? And it is interdisciplinary by nature, because in fact, real problems or real world context problems are interdisciplinary by nature. So we can have different areas of knowledge interacting with each other when we want students to solve some problems. The problem should be a real world problem or an approximation, so like a realistic problem, okay? Because sometimes to make it manageable in our classrooms, we have to make a realistic problem, not exactly a real world problem. But it could be a real world problem. And students work in teams, and they learn collaboratively, because students learn better in that way. And also because the dimension of the problem and of the project they are solving needs a team, okay? That's also a part of the process. And usually in project-based learning, we have long-lasting ways of doing it, but this is not like a ground rule, okay? We could have small short-term projects also if we have more time during that short time for this, like a week, a whole week dedicated to the project, for example. They will have a lot of hours to work on that. But usually when we have project-based learning, we have a semester or a whole year approach where students will have to deal with project management challenges and also with conflicts and interpersonal communication. And so they will be developing also other kinds of competencies, not only the ones that are content oriented. Okay, so this is more or less our main principles for the implementation of problem and project-based learning.
The full course is project oriented. Okay. And then what we have here in the right side on the bottom, what's happened is that in spite of the fact we have project as a course, we also have the other courses that give support to the project as well. So this provides a much more compromise and commitment between the teachers and the students have here the semester fully oriented to the project. And finally, we already talked a little bit about Aalborg University and these pedagogical approaches in which in the curriculum we don't have this kind of courses very close to one specific area, but the curriculum is completely integrated in a way that they can work in projects in the curriculum. So here we also have the All in College in the United States, in many other contexts that this kind of approaches could happen. So a little bit more disruptive, at least in our context, and probably yours as well. But this interdisciplinary approach is one of those that myself and Rui have been working on in terms of research, in terms of in the practice as well. So this is going to be the approach that we are going to work after in following the rest of the session. Wait, go. You are mute.
So we have a first question for all of you. And the question is, what are the requirements for PBL organization? In fact, we are all also answering this, but you may think about additional ones. So we didn't put all requirements that we think we need. Okay, but this is like when we are thinking about a PBL approach, a project-based learning approach for our students, what should we prepare and what should we be able to organize during the process? Okay, one of the things is to think about the team of teachers. Sometimes we call it like the coordination team of the project. Okay? And this team of teachers should involve teachers that come from if we have an interdisciplinary approach, we should have teachers from different courses as an example, okay? We should think about the teams of students. Do we need teams of 3, 5, 7, 9, 11? So what will be the dimension of the team? And additionally, will we have students with different backgrounds? Do we need it? Are we going to make it random, or should we ask students to create the teams? So we have to think about that also. Furthermore, we need to think about the curricular context. What will be the courses involved, and from which programs? Okay, from industrial engineering and management field and from educational field in one joint project? I don't know. Okay, so what will be the curricular context? And our students should be from the first year, from the third year, from master degree. Okay, so we have to think about that also. What will be the expected result to be delivered by students at the end of the project? We have to think about this quite clearly so that we can interact with the students and give feedback to them. And what will be the deliverables during the process? We should not expect only a final deliverable, but we should expect several deliverables during the process. And other things, and I would like you to help us. Could you propose 1 or 2 or 3 items additional to this that we are sharing? The starting point is the problem, okay? So we need to define a problem that engages teams of students during a semester, as an example, okay? And the problem should be interdisciplinary, engaging or integrating different courses, and we have an expected result for our students. Like it could be a machine from, if we are talking about mechanical engineering as an example, but it could be a report or some kind of proposal for an external agent, like a marketing plan. Okay, it could be a lot of different things. Okay,
quite important to engage students in the very first place, and also clarifying the objectives and the aims of the project. And that it's really important to understand what students are going to learn with the project, because the project is about fostering student learning. That's the main purpose of the project. That's why we are doing project-based learning, to help students to learn better, like a meaningful experience that we would like to provide to our students with PBL.
So the PBL simulation process is planned like this. Okay? We have a problem for you, and the problem is developing problem or objective, okay? Developing an interdisciplinary PBL proposal for a specific group of students that you will define in your own proposal, okay? So at the end of the workshop, you should share with us, share with each other a PBL proposal, okay? And that PBL proposal will be developed in 3 main milestones. The first one will be to define the theme or the problem, okay, for your students. And that's a thing that we have not yet shared with you, but the problem in project-based learning is typically not completely defined. So the first phase of the students, of the working process of the students, will be to specify in more detailed the problem that we are delivering to them. So sometimes you call it a theme, not exactly a problem, okay? It will depend on the approach that you are developing. So at the end of the first phase, and it will be a short time phase, okay? Each team will have to share with us a problem or a theme for their own students, okay? Second, it will be the plan of the PBL approach. So you will have to share with us how much milestones and deliverables and how are you going to organize, okay, the learning process in the PBL approach. And third, it will be the presentation. So it will be your deliverable, okay? Each team will share their own proposal, okay, so that we can all give some feedback and learn with each other in the process.
So this is going to be a simulation process, and as you can see here, these are some of the requirements that we mentioned before. So we have here a problem, we are going to work on deliverables, you are working on teams, we expect a specific result. Of course, that, as we mentioned in the very beginning, the idea, of course, is not to have a detailed proposal, really structured. That's not the point. but have a starting point, like a draft that comes from your own discussion in teams. So the process is going to be really collaborative and also interdisciplinary. So this is the right environment when we implement PBL. And the simulation process is somehow what we are somehow mapping here in the next hour. Okay, questions? Feel free also to open your micro. Don't be shy. Okay, of course that we are going to provide here some background, and we are going to start about some of the PBL phases. So I think it was Tatiana that in the very beginning said that maybe we need to create an advanced preparation of PBL, and this is the setup phase. This is what you in teams are going to do. So the coordinating team of teachers meet several times during this process before the semester started, and start to organize what is going to be the project. And the deliverable from this point is what we called the project guide. The project guide is a document that we provide to the students in the first day with all the scope of the project, what is expected from them, what they are going to benefit from the experience, the phases of the project, the assessment moments, and so on and so on. So is the rules of the game of the semester. That's the main point. And we have the kickoff of the project that is in a small period of time, used to be 1 or 2 weeks maximum. And the idea of this kickoff with the first deliverable is to put students in the mood of the project, to put them in the diving in the problem that they are going to address, starting to do the first research work around the topic. And then the longest phase of the process, of course, is going to be the execution of the project. That's why the problem is open, and considering that the problem is open, they need to make decisions, they need to define solutions, they need to test sometimes if the solution is working or not. So they need time to do that. And it's really important during this period long of time, have some deliverables. Could be, for example, presentations, just to have a sense in each group are doing what. It's really important to provide them feedback. And we close when we close the project, they deliver the final result, and they have the final assessment as well. At the end of the project, it's really important to review, to make a revision of what happened, what went well, what not went so well, in order to improve the next cycles of the project. So this is the spirit of the semester on PBL. And what we are going to do here today is focusing on this setup part, okay? So let's start with the first deliverable. Right, Rui?
So first, the deliverable will be the definition of the theme or problem, and we will give you 15 minutes to do that in small teams. Each team will have to define the theme problem on which the students will work during the semester. Our background, or not background, but we'll give you some context. I think it will be helpful to make it more fluid and to make it somehow a little bit more fast, okay? So, and we propose you to make create a proposal integrating 2 to 4 courses, okay, max. But if you find about 2 or 3 courses, that's all right, okay? Second, the problem should be related to the Sustainable Development Goals, because we can relate it with every knowledge areas that we can imagine. and think about that you should expect a concrete result. So the first deliverable at the end of 15 minutes will be the definition of the theme or problem for each team. And for that, we will create some breakout rooms. In fact, we will need some help with that. Yeah.
Just to add just some organizational issues. So we are randomly put you in teams. In the first minute, try to introduce yourself very quickly, okay? Just to understand a little bit who you are. And then we suggest that you could do the first brainstorming on this issue about what kind of problem you could address. And I will ask to someone inside of the team 3 roles. The first one could be someone that managed the time, which is really important to keep the process working. The second one to be the speaker at the end of all the deliverables. And the other one, someone who creates, could be a PowerPoint or a Word, a document, whatever you want, just to summarize the ideas that the group are working on during the milestones, okay?
So we are moving on to cycle 2. And now we want to ask you to plan the PBL approach. So what will be the way you want to organize your PBL for your students? So we have a theme, problem, and an expected result. And we would like you to think about a few more things like the curricular context. You have been giving us some hints on that, namely for the room 3, as far as I remember. So what will be the courses? The students will come from year 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know. And what will be the deliverables during the process? And at the end of this phase, we'll go to the third phase, and third cycle will be about presenting your proposals. Okay. So this is like giving you some inspiration or illustrating what you can come up with, like a slide talking about the theme or problem, another slide for the curricular framework, courses, programs, main competencies. I don't know, whatever you think it's important that you are able to discuss. And another slide for the expecting end result, and another slide for the assessment and deliverables. Okay, if you are able to do this in the time that we are going to define, like 15 to 20 minutes, we have to close that, but maybe 20 minutes we'll have that. So that will be great. So next cycle will be to define theme, problem, curricular framework, expecting end result, and assessments and deliverables.
So of course, if you don't have time to detail all these dimensions, don't worry, okay? Yeah. Considering the time that you have available, you can define what each group have much more interesting to discuss, okay? If you are not able to discuss about the assessment, that's fine, okay, for now, okay? Yeah. This exercise of simulation, what we also want to show is that it's possible to do a lot in a really short period of time. So in less than 2 hours, you were able to think about one project that could be developed by the students, thinking about the result that students can provide at the end, and so on and so on. And when we think about preparing PBL, seems a very demanding task as a teachers, okay, because we need to join together different perspectives, different courses, thinking about the assessment and so on. But it's possible in one meeting in 2 hours, we can discuss and define a lot of different things. So imagine that you have a second meeting in which probably you are going to define, for example, things related to results or things related to assessment and so on and so on. So this is part of the spirit when we start organizing PBL. So you already had that experience.
So, and now we are going to, okay, just to share with you what we have been organizing in my own experience at Industrial Engineering and Management at University of Minho. We have a project of 15 weeks. We have been dealing with different numbers of students, like 40 to 95. This year I have 65 students. Tomorrow I will have the final presentation of the project. We have students engaging in one specific project with a company, like analyze the production system and make a proposal for improvement of that production system. And so this is really vast and open, okay? But what gives boundaries to this problem are the courses that are engaged in the project. One course is about lean manufacturing. The other is about modeling production processes. So we have 4 courses in this project, and they are defining the boundaries of the project, in fact. So the project is to develop the learning that we expect them to develop during this process, and not so much to give a closed solution to the company. Of course, there are some tensions here because students sometimes want to do more for the company than for the courses, but that is also part of the process. We have teams of 7, 8, or 9 students. We have a coordination team with 5 teachers, and we have spaces that are the space that we have in fact, there are classrooms where students, we have 4 teams in each classroom, and we meet with them during the semester. So each week the teams go to the company and comes back with more information, more doubts, and they discuss it with us in the meeting with the tutors, okay, or the supervisors. So that's the way it is working with us, okay? We have 4 courses, one company per student, per team, sorry, and we have a project integrating those courses. And the project is itself a course, okay? So the project is a course with an assessment process and with teachers and a schedule in the weekly schedule. Additionally, one thing that we have, I don't know, Diana, do you want to talk about this part? No, okay. One thing that we have in the every week is the facilitation. Okay, how do we support teams? And that's a picture of myself in a meeting with a group a few years ago. So each week I have a meeting of 10, 15 minutes, half an hour with each team. Okay, it will depend. And the main idea is to trust, empower, and accept what students are able to do. And they are able to do a lot, really a lot. Okay, if we give them the space and the autonomy and the challenge, they will do really, really great jobs. We discussed the objectives with them. We should be attentive and show engagement because they need that. Okay, they need our own engagement. Okay, with the process. And mainly we work with questions, open, but also some closed questions, and giving feedback to them during the process. We avoid to present them solutions. We mainly open alternatives. We discuss with them different alternatives to look to the problem or to look to solutions. And finally, we promote communication between students. We also have a support for them to learn how to work in teams, how to develop their own interpersonal communication competencies. And so we support them, I would say, a little bit, okay, in the process, because that's also important for them, because they will have some problems during the process. That's what always happens.
May I just highlight 2 topics regarding what you said, Rui, also final messages, because I think this is only one small part what we show about PBL. There are much more. And one of the things is that the change of the role of the teacher that PBL demands. And what we talk about this kind of attitude, this kind of communication approach with students is completely different. What, for instance, if we have like a lecture demands. So this is one part. And another part is regarding also to assessment. We didn't mention about a lot about that, and it's important. And I think it was a group from Paulo and João talk about formative assessment, and that this is what is combined with this kind of facilitation process. So during the process, students expect this kind of feedback to improve their performance as well, and at the same time. We need to understand what is happening inside of the teams. So, because the teamwork has a really strong influence in the process, because it's a group effort. That's why peer assessment is so important also to include in the PBL model as a way of working in teams. And about that, I mentioned this because at the end, probably can you move forward, please? Just to, at the end, we include a set. Oh, it's not in this version. Oh, it's here. Okay. We have here a set of references and readings, not only about problem and project-based learning, the differences, about strategies, typologies of PBL, the benefits of PBL, but also about the assessment. So if you are curious about how assessment works, we also have here some information regarding to that. And to close, if you need anything else about any further materials, please feel free to ask us. We are really open to share what you need. And I expect that this session provide you some highlights of PBL, but of course we are always learning about PBL. Even myself, that I'm working for a long time in this field, I'm always learning. So thank you all for being here, the survivors, the group of survivors, and feel free to contact us for further information, okay? Thank you.
And we will share the materials, so that's
exactly.
You can check. that later. Thank you all.